Hey folks, it's your old pal Justin Robert Young here. If you want to support this show, then go ahead and do it at patreon.com/JURY. There, you can not only make sure that you support independent political media, which is something that does not happen unless you guys do it. Also, if you want 3 times the podcast, then you can go ahead and do it by being a patron at the $3 and up level. That means you get a headline edition and a specialized RSS feed. Put it in the podcatcher of your choice. Couldn't be easier, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and do it at patreon.com/JURY. See you there, folks.
But all the money in the Bank of England couldn't pay enough to keep young Johnny Jones away from old Broadway.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so are you a fan of this show? I'm going to guess that you are because you're listening to this. I am doing a live show in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on November 18th. That's a Saturday. During the day, I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged talking about the card games. And then at night, I'm going to be at Shot Tower Coffee, 7 p.m., that is at 542 Christian Street on Saturday, November 18th. It's a politics show technically, but we're going to do a bunch of stuff. If you like jury or you like politics, I am begging you personally to come out. I have no idea who's going to show up here. No price at the door, but we're going to do a suggested donation just because I got to pay for the place. So, again, November 18th, Shot Tower Coffee, 542 Christian Street, Politics, live show. It's me, Justin. I'm going to be in Philadelphia. Hey, born and raised in the playground. Please show up. I'm so worried. But enough of talking about how we pay for the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing? Oh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. Oh, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Dude, what a week. What a week, man. We've got a ton to talk about. We got a coup out in Zimbabwe. Holy shit. A coup in Zimbabwe? The Campaign Chaos Book Club has been revitalized. Very excited about that. We've got Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's run as kingmaker might be over already. We might be already done with Steve Bannon as kingmaker. And something that I did not think I would ever see in my life is happening. And that is a re-examination of Bill Clinton's legacy with sexual assault and specifically some of the more serious claims against him and whether or not there was a rush to judgment. So, all of that will take a back seat. Oh, also, Donald Trump wants teenagers to thank him because they're not being thankful enough. It is Thanksgiving, after all. But none of this takes a front seat to what is happening in Alabama. Roll Tide. Wartime Eagle. There's a special election in Alabama because Jeff Sessions is now the Attorney General. So they got to have a special election. Spoiler alert, Republicans win in Alabama. That's what happens. You know, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. That means that Republicans get elected in Alabama, man. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for a Democrat to win in Alabama. It is a prohibitive favorite, whoever runs in Alabama as a Republican. I said on the Headlines podcast, you could run a mop. I'm a mop that runs as a Republican. I'm reliable. I never go to sleep. In fact, I don't have any human emotion because indeed, I am a mop. And it will win in Alabama as a Republican because that's just what happens. So, in the Republican primary, as you guys might remember, we covered this quite a bit. Judge Roy Moore was running against Luther Strange. And Strange was backed by Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Judge Roy Moore was backed by Steve Bannon. And really the spirit of the America First coalition. He's a rock solid America First. He was going to go to the Senate and he would tell Mitch McConnell what's what. Sorry, buddy, the establishment hold on the Republican Party will be broken if only Judge Roy Moore can get in there. Because you want to know what Roy Moore does? You want to know what Roy Moore is capable of? Taking decisive action early. That's what he does. He lives that life, and he has done so for decades now. In fact, back in his 30s, he took such decisive action at an early stage that he was dating teenagers. What? Yeah, you know, he knew what he wanted, and he got it. No matter how early. Wait, hold on, go back. Yeah, he was well known for dating and kissing teenagers. He knows. He loves the kids. Okay, that doesn't work either. He's, you know, that's what he loves about teenagers is, you know, he keeps getting older. They stay the same age. All right, all right, all right. Judge Roy Moore, hey, man, I'm telling you what, I'm going to get down there to Washington. I'm going to tell Mitch McConnell, you better get out of the way. Hey, by the way, which way's the local mall? That's what I like. Yeah, Judge Roy Moore. All right, all right, all right. Will anybody think of the children? Well, apparently, Judge Roy Moore. All right, so if you're not aware, here's what happened. Over the last weekend, what was already a race that was probably a little bit tighter than it should have been, Roy Moore was running about 6 points ahead of Doug Jones, the Democratic competitor, became even closer. He was running like, he was running 6 points ahead of Doug Jones. That's way closer than it should have been. Keep in mind, Donald Trump won by 28 points against Hillary Clinton in Alabama. So, if you are running 6 points ahead, that means you are actually running negative 22 to what the last statewide election of Republican versus Democrat was. Now, granted, Donald Trump was a very popular Republican in Alabama, but still, you know, the baseline is the baseline. So first, it's the Washington Post. The Washington Post comes out with a story and has a bunch of women on the record. Few women that just bring the creepy stuff, right? You know, hey, I was 16, 18, 19. He was 32, working as a district attorney, and he wanted to date me, and he asked my mom's permission, and then we kissed, and yeah, just hooky stuff, right? But the big stuff was now a woman, but then a girl of 14 who said that he picked her up on the steps of his job, which, by the way, is, in case you didn't pick this up, a court of law. The mom was going in for a custody hearing, and Roy Moore says to the mom, hey, you don't want your 14-year-old daughter hearing all this nasty boot duty chatter that's going to happen in there about this custody hearing. What do you say that I just watch your daughter? And the mom, probably not her proudest moment, is like, sure, stranger. So this dude, district attorney, the state of Alabama, starts hitting on this girl. Wants to date her. 14 years old. So that's the big news over the weekend. Next thing you know, we start getting more. Give me more. Give me more. Give me more. Oh, my God. Here's the latest. Gadsden locals say Moore's predatory behavior at malls and restaurants not a secret. And they've got plenty of people that are on the record talking about how creepy Roy Moore is. Here's the headline, this again from AL.com, Alabama.com. Anna Claire Vollers is the author. Roy Moore's penchant for flirting with teen girls was quote-unquote common knowledge and quote-unquote not a big secret around Gadsden, according to some area residents. The Senate candidate was denied any wrongdoing from the wake of a report from the Washington Post in which 4 women accused Moore of inappropriate advances and, in one instance, a sexual encounter toward them when they were teens and he was in his early 30s. One of the 4 women claims that she was 14 at the time, taking her, the only one whose claim would represent a legal violation. Moore had said they never met. A 5th woman came forward this afternoon. Moore and other Republicans have questioned why it took so long for his accusers, now in their 50s, to come forward publicly. And yet people who lived in Etowah County during this time said Moore's flirting with and dating much younger women and girls was no secret. Quote, these stories have been around for 30 years, said Blake Ursey, who grew up in the area and now lives outside of Gadsden. Nobody could believe they hadn't come out yet. Now, here's what I want to skip to. Because this is the grossest, right? I mean, aside the sexual assault stuff, let me go ahead and take that back. The sexual assault stuff is the grossest, okay? This is just mind-blowing. Ursey, who was a teenager at the time, he is the guy who was quoted earlier. Quote, he would go and flirt with all the young girls. It seemed like every Friday or Saturday night you'd see him walking around the mall. This is the local mall. The Gadsden Mall. The mall opened to great fanfare in 1974, anchored by department stores like Pizzitt's, Belk Hudson, and Sears. It had a movie theater, lounge, drugstore, and restaurants, including Morrison's Cafeteria. It became a popular local hangout specifically for teenagers back in the 70s. Wendy Miller told the Post that she was 14 and working at Santa's helper at the Gadsden Mall in 1977 when Moore first spoke to her and told her that she looked pretty. Ugh. 2 years later, when she was 16, he asked her out on dates, although her mother wouldn't let her go. Ursey, who was a teenager at the time, remembers seeing Moore at the mall often. Quote, he would go and flirt with all the young girls. It seemed like every Friday or Saturday night you'd see him at the mall, like the kids did. Jason Nelms, who now lives in Tennessee but grew up in nearby South Side, was a regular at the mall when he was a teenager. He recalled being told, all right, here's the money quote. Clip this out. I need y'all to clip this out. He recalled being told by a mall employee that they kept watch for an older guy who was known to pick up on younger girls. Nelm said he was later told by a concession worker at the mall that man was Roy Moore. Craig Leggett, who worked at the Record Bar, a music store near Sears in the mall from 81 to 85, said that an off-duty Gadsden police officer named J.T. Thomas told him about the various people he should look out for when he was working. This was in 1981, and Thomas worked security at the mall. One of the people was a pickpocket, while the other was prone to pick fights. But one was Roy Moore. I asked him, what did he do? And he said, if you see him, let me know and I'll take care of it. What the hell? That dude was banned from the mall for parking lot pimping. Banned from the mall for being too aggressive on hawking these teen girls. He is a 30-something district attorney. And yet, he has continued to defend this. He has said, hey, look, that was a long time ago. If any of this were true, why didn't it come out earlier? I have run for state-run office several times. It has never come out. Seems to be coming out now. A lot of people on the record that are saying, I have no idea why this didn't come out earlier. Apparently, nobody asked. Because right now, there is an avalanche of on-the-record quotes of people saying, oh, yeah, no, everybody knows that. Matuba in the chat. Apparently, this dude's got some Debbie Gibson fever. But what will they say? Roy Moore was running just as fast as he can. Boo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. To the polls to vote for Judge Roy Moore. He should use I Think We're Alone Now as his campaign. I'm sorry, that's Tiffany, not Debbie Gibson. Whatever. The mall aesthetic. Eat my nuts. Whatever. I mixed up Debbie Gibson and Tiffany. I apologize. I hereby apologize, which will make me more prone to apology than Judge Roy Moore. Holding on to one another's hand. Speaking of audio, let's go ahead and look at this. This is something that delighted me. So, Judge Roy Moore on his Twitter went ahead and was defending his defense to this. To be fair, his defense to this is that this is a hit job. This was put together by the Washington Post. This is designed on a multi-front effort to make sure that America First conservatives do not come into the Senate because it would threaten Mitch McConnell's leadership position. And to be fair, Judge Roy Moore is there specifically to break up Mitch McConnell's leadership. So, Judge Roy Moore tweets this out yesterday. Yesterday he tweets this out. Alabamians will not be fooled by this this hashtag inside hit job. Mitch McConnell's days as majority leader are coming to an end very soon. The fight has just begun. And he quote tweets, Jeff_poor. This is a quote to a Breitbart story. Rush Limbaugh search and destroy mission against Roy Moore is really about Mitch McConnell sending Steve Bannon a message. Now, that headline very much seems to, support Roy Moore's claim that this is being trumped up by the allies of the inside the Beltway establishment to make sure that a true rock-hard conservative outsider does not make his way to drain the swamp. However, if you listen to this Rush Limbaugh clip, this is what you hear. This is the first thing that you hear on the Rush Limbaugh Show on the EIB network. I probably shouldn't do my impression next to playing Rush Limbaugh sound because you'll realize how shitty it is. But here we go. Oh, by the way, Jeff Poor is the writer of this. So he found this clip. This is what Rush Limbaugh, again, Rush Limbaugh, this is how he starts this segment.
Let me just ask you point blank, folks. Do you think that Roy Moore is a creep who did the deed? You do. You do. You do. As of today and after the mall, after the report about the mall, you're done. I've got unanimity in here. Everybody thinks that Creepin did the deed.
He has his staff. The staff of the Rush Limbaugh show. Okay? The staff of the Rush Limbaugh show. Not exactly the Daily Kos comment section. Whether they believe that Roy Moore is quote-unquote the creep who did the deed. And they unanimously think that he is the creep who did the deed.
Deed or deeds, plural. Deeds. Reading, just getting too much here to say that there's a conspiracy. Too much here to say that drive-bys are making it up.
He says there is no way. His staff is swayed by everybody coming out on the record, and saying that, quote, the creep who did the deed is Roy Moore. And he's tweeting this. This is the positive thing in his direction. And also, I don't think that point is a poorly made one. I do think that Mitch McConnell is trying to send a message to Steve Bannon. Oh, yeah, by the way, we didn't mention this because this story just never stops getting creepy. The new woman who has just come out by way of Gloria Allred, so, you know, if you have suspicion toward Gloria Allred, then understand that. But the new accuser has a signature in her yearbook from Roy Moore, in which he calls her the sweetest, most beautiful girl. Shake it off. Holding on to one another's hands. I need to get that. That's Roy Moore. Roy Moore to all these girls that he's parking lot pimping at the Gadsden Mall. I think we're alone now. Oh, God, so disgusting. So where does this go? Well, the RNC has pulled back all support, so he ain't going to be getting no more money. And the article today from Politico is that Donald Trump is weighing exactly how and when he might put the final bullet into the campaign of Roy Moore. This is the story from Politico. President Donald Trump is returning from Asia to a political maelstrom in the United States, one that could force him to decide whether to push out Attorney General Jeff Sessions in a Hail Mary to attempt to save the Alabama seat Sessions once held. Trump spoke with the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from Asia last week, and the Senate leader made an urgent plea. Please help push Moore out of the contest. On Monday, as new female accusers emerged, the Republican leader discussed the Alabama situation with White House Chief of Staff John Kelly and VP Pence. The conversation centered on tax reform, but the Senate Republican leader has also proposed a dramatic idea that Jeff Sessions run as a write-in candidate to be appointed for the seat that he's held for 2 decades. White House officials plan to convene a meeting to talk through their options soon, and Trump is widely expected to address the predicament publicly when he returns from abroad. In order for the president to get involved, some aides to the president say he would need an airtight plan that limits his political exposure to any fallout. I am suspecting that this is more about who they run as a write-in than it is about who or whether or not they want Roy Moore the fuck up out of here. Because as we're going to get to a little bit later in the show, things have become very politically precarious for Roy Moore. And if this story seems bent and intent on getting worse within a month before Election Day, then I can only imagine that they would prefer to not have Roy Moore be running to come into a Senate where they're immediately going to try to get him out of there. In fact, the way that you know that this thing is not going well for Roy Moore is when you see stuff like this on the Drudge Report. Bannon turns on Judge Whore is the headline here on the Drudge Report. Again, the Drudge Report, the clearinghouse for all conservative talk radio and Fox News talking points. Bannon turns on Judge Whore is the headline. I mean, if Matt Drudge is calling you Judge Whore, you got a problem. This, of course, is a link to a Daily Beast article wherein it is rumored that Steve Bannon is debating whether or not to totally drop any support for Judge Roy Moore. You can kind of get the sense that this is already happening, as now all the headlines on Breitbart.com, the big one is about, whether or not the FBI will investigate Clinton for Uranium One. Yeah, there's a few more things here. I mean, they just sent 3 reporters down there. But we're getting a lot of stuff here on, a story on Rotten Tomatoes, story on the tax reform, more special counsels on Clinton, and then we got a couple stories here on Moore. Now, why does this matter? Let's go ahead and pull back. This matters because, as anybody who's been listening to this show, anybody who's been watching us on twitch.tv/Justin R. Young, anybody following us at patreon.com/JURY and getting those headline editions understands that Steve Bannon was to be the new kingmaker. More than that, he was going to be the agent of chaos, running his own America First candidates against every open seat, regardless of whether or not it was held by a Republican or a Democrat. He wanted to make sure that Washington was America first. You cannot drain the swamp unless you have Congress, and he was bent and intent on doing that. Part of what he wanted to do was made sure that Mitch McConnell was up out of here. So this seems as good a time as any to take a look at one of our, a sounder you're going to be hearing a lot. Let's go ahead and get ready for a Wave Watch. Bannon might be burnt, son. This could not have gone worse for Steve Bannon. -5 stars. Not only has Mercer, his sugar daddy, the paymaster, not only has he pulled back his support of Steve Bannon, but now we've got news from Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon Adelson here. This is a Politico story. GOP megadonor Adelson publicly breaks with Bannon. Las Vegas casino mogul Sheldon Adelson, the GOP's most prominent megadonor, is breaking with former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon over his efforts to oust Republican incumbents in 2018. Quote, "The Adelsons will not be supporting Steve Bannon's efforts," says Andy Aboud, the Adelson spokesman. "They are supporting Mitch McConnell 100%. For anyone to infer anything else is wrong." The public pronouncement comes about a month after Adelson met with Bannon in Washington. So, just to go ahead and put together what we have here, Steve Bannon has publicly put forth a candidate that has exploded publicly on a level that we have not seen since Christine O'Donnell could not shake claims that she was a witch. He has announced all-out war, had to backtrack on all-out war because it seems like he doesn't have the money to wage all-out war, and now is losing the support of even more mega donors. Now, why is this part of Wave Watch, might you ask? Well, I think this is bad for a Democratic wave. But Justin, Steve Bannon is such a gigantic figure on the right. Why would him being publicly, as the kids say, cucked, BTFO Steve Bannon, feels bad man Steve Bannon, why would that be bad news for bad news for Democrats? Because it was my belief that the wave was even more likely because Steve Bannon was going to weaken Republican establishment Republicans, sitting establishment Republicans. And that not only would he complicate races, but he would give ammo and blueprints, and either he would put people like Roy Moore into races, right? Or he would weaken incumbents so much that it would make it more likely that an insurgent Democratic candidate could take them out. Now, again, these are baseline generic claims. And ultimately, as we will talk about in detail as we get closer and closer to Election Day next year, all politics are local. But if you want to look at broad trend lines, because indeed this is a Wave Watch, I think that the Bannon that existed 2 months ago was better for Democrats than the Bannon that exists now. I don't know if y'all picked up on this, but Judge Roy Moore publicly imploding and having everybody scramble to find out whether Luther Strange or Jeff Sessions is going to run as a write-in candidate is very good for Doug Jones. Very good for a Democrat getting elected in Alabama. Bannon is good for Democrats. In fact, if I were a Democrat right now in Alabama, I'd be floating stories that Jeff Sessions is running as a write-in. Luther Strange is running as a write-in. Because you want people to be confused on who they're going to have to write in if they want to not vote for Roy Moore. Also, the question is now, at what point does Roy Moore sit down? Because I don't know what else is there for him. But if he's losing the support of, here was something else I just saw. Sean Hannity, who, by the way, backed Roy Moore to the point where he was losing sponsors, is now, after all of his fans smashed their Keurig machines, is now saying, I'm going to give Moore 24 hours. Because apparently, like Rush Limbaugh's staff, Hannity might now think that Roy Moore is the creep who did the deed. This is another Politico story. Fox News host John Hannity walked back Tuesday night his original remarks, insinuating that the 5 women accusing Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore of sexual assault when they were teenagers might be lying. Quote, "For me, the judge has 24 hours. You must immediately and fully come up with a satisfactory explanation for your inconsistencies that I just showed." Hannity's break from the original comments follows a cascade of Republican figures distancing themselves from the GOP candidate, including the Republican National Committee. I mean, you can't blame him, right? This dude is going down. It's over, Johnny. There's no more here. Get it? All right. That's enough on Roy Moore. Man. Oh, shit. What a creepo. What a. Trying to get away into the night. And then we hold each other tight. I sign your yearbook. Please don't mention this in 30 years. I'm trying to run for Senate now. All right. I'm going to say I never ever thought I would see this coming. What I'm about to talk about right now, and I got a larger point. Actually, you want to know what? Let me do this here first. We got a goddamn coup. We got a goddamn coup in Zimbabwe. We like to talk about some international politics. This ain't exactly an election, but yeah. By the way, there was a coup in Zimbabwe last night. Military is taking control in Zimbabwe, in southern Africa. Says it's taking custody of President Robert Mugabe, 93, the world's oldest head of state and in power since 1980. In contrast to his elevated status in the continent, Mugabe is reviled in the West as a despot whose disastrous handling of the economy and willingness to resort to violence to maintain power destroyed one of Africa's most promising states. BBC says, quote, after seizing state TV, an army spokesman announced that it was targeting people close to Mugabe who had caused social and economic suffering. The move came after Mr. Mugabe sacked his deputy, Emerson Mnangagwa, in favor of his wife, Grace. Ew, say goodnight, Grace. Good night, Grace. An awesome background paragraph from the AP. This is again from Axios. Love Axios. Mugabe last week accused his sacked vice president of plotting to take over power through witchcraft. Oh. I don't really have much more to say about it. I just want to let y'all know. We don't have a coup watch. A coup watch stinger. So we'll just let you know, man. That's also, like, how weird is it that, like, when you're you've taken over a country, you still have the same, like, background that they use when somebody's doing something on CNN, right? It's like the same background they use when, like, Don Lemon has, like, somebody on. And live from Atlanta, former DNC fundraising chair, bleep, blop, bling, ding, dong. It's just kind of unless that can't be live, is it? It looks like a background. I don't know. All right, this is not good radio. One more silly thing. Donald Trump was in China. Came out. That is a story that if you don't follow sports, you might not know about. But 3 UCLA basketball players, while in China, stole stuff from the Louis Vuitton store. They were arrested and held. Apparently, while in China, Donald Trump appealed personally to the president of China to let the kids go. That is a solid. Like, beyond politics, having a big head of state reach out to the president of China to say, hey, please let these people go, that's big. It's good. It's important. I mean, I think that these kids should pay a price for shoplifting, but so you know, in China, when you fuck about, about fucks you, right? Like that's a problem out there in China. They do not care if you're American. You will pay the price by way of Chinese law, and they will they might make a bigger deal about it. These kids are stupid. One of them is LiAngelo Ball, which we don't need to get into it, but is one of the three sons, Lonzo, LiAngelo, and LaMelo, of Lonzo Ball, who is a very, if I were to describe it to non-sports fans, he's kind of the everything that you would think about when you understand like an overactive mom of a child pageant kid. LeVar is the father, three sons, Lonzo, LiAngelo, and LaMelo. But yeah, he's like a pageant mom, but he's the father of three kids. He has he's very outspoken. He's what is the quote from Austin Powers? He's prone to wild claims, like he invented the question mark. So Donald Trump, this was a report that came out that he asked for leniency, and they got it. They've been released. So Donald Trump tweets this morning, because he loves being on CNN. Do you think the 3 UCLA basketball players will say thank you, President Trump? They were headed for 10 years in jail. Now, again, like, you're not wrong, Donnie. You're an asshole. Yes, they should thank you. Navigating the tricky situation of getting people incarcerated or out of incarceration from a Chinese prison deserves a thank you. Yes, and you don't need to tweet it, do you? You don't need to tweet it. But then again, like, I don't know, that's a whole nother segment, right? Did you need to tweet it? All right, let's get into some serious stuff. Here's something I don't think that I ever saw. By the way, this Saturday, November 18th, 7 p.m., Shot Tower Coffee, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be there. I hope to see so many more of y'all there. We are going to do the oral history of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. And part of what we're going to talk about is something that I would have never thought in my life that we would have seen. A re-examining of Bill Clinton's sexual past. And specifically the women that came out and said, that there was that some of this was sexual assault. Now, Monica Lewinsky was not one of them. She willingly admits that a lot of this was, or all of her interactions were consensual. But there are other women who don't say that. And they've been around for a very, very long time. And it is only now that it seems that the sun is setting on the Clinton dynasty, and we are getting some of this Me Too stuff, that I'm seeing something in the New York Times that I don't think I would have ever seen in the New York Times before. This is 2 days ago. Op-ed columnist Michelle Goldberg, I believe Juanita. Here is the lead paragraph on this. On Friday evening, the MSNBC host Chris Hayes sent out a tweet that electrified online conservatives. As gross and cynical and hypocritical as the right wing's "what about Bill Clinton" stuff is, it's also true that Democrats and the center left are overdue for a real reckoning with the allegations against him. Hayes' tweet inspired stories on Glenn Beck's The Blaze, Breitbart, and The Daily Caller, all apparently eager to use the Clinton scandals to derail discussions about Roy Moore, the Republican nominee for the United States Senate, who's accused of sexually assaulting minors. Yet, despite the right's evident bad faith, I agree with Hayes. In this Me Too moment, when we're reassessing decades of male misbehavior and turning open secrets into exposés, we should look clearly at the credible evidence that Juanita Broaddrick told the truth when she accused Clinton of raping her. But revisiting the Clinton scandals in light of today's politics is complicated as well as painful. Democrats are guilty of apologizing for Clinton when they shouldn't have. At the time, looking back at the smear campaign against the Clintons shows that we can't treat feminists' injunction to quote-unquote believe women was absolute. Writing for Crooked.com, Brian Butler warns that in future elections, right-wing propaganda will exploit the progressive commitment to always taking sexual abuse charges seriously. It's easy to imagine an outlet like Breitbart leveraging the quote-unquote believe women rallying cry to force mainstream media coverage of dubious accusations. And she goes into like, hey, look, there are plenty of moments in which, some of these claims might be dubious. Specifically about Kathleen Willey and Paula Jones. But she goes on to say, of the Clinton accusers, the one who haunts me is Broaddrick. The story she tells about Clinton recalls those we've heard about Weinstein. She claimed that she planned to meet him at a hotel coffee shop, but at the last minute, he has to come up to her hotel room instead, where he raped her. 5 witnesses say that she confided in them about the assault right after it happened. It's true that she denied the rape in an affidavit to Paula Jones's lawyers before changing her story when talking to federal investigators. But her explanation that she didn't want to go public but couldn't lie to the FBI makes sense. Put simply, I believe her. So, List of the Fox says, when did she tell the truth, in 1997 or 1999? There is a discrepancy, and you can believe her or not. This is not the clearinghouse on this show. Here's what I will never do. And I'm going to make this promise to you. And in turn, I'm going to ask for you to think about something with me. I will never, in a political spectrum, ask you to make a judgment on sexual assault. I don't ever want to do that. I will try to point you guys into positions where people are talking about this. I will personally err on the side of taking these kinds of claims seriously, because I think that we have had decades and decades of it being far too long for us doing it. But in turn, what I would like to ask of you is that we understand that politics and elections specifically are very poor spectrums for which to view this stuff. And I mean with Bill Clinton. I mean with Donald Trump. I mean in all the examples that whenever anybody brings up, well, Roy Moore did this, well, what about blank? Well, Bill Clinton did this, well, what about blank? Well, Donald Trump did this, well, what about blank? Because ultimately, as I have said from the very, very beginning of this show, this is the canonical, gestational idea that this show is about understanding politics as a race for 2 people or more to understand that we're going to all convince as many people as we can to go into a booth and press your button. This is not about parsing every little element. And granted, there are plenty of situations where you might find things to be disqualifying behavior. But ultimately, to paint all of one side by saying, well, they did not respond to this, and therefore they are disgusting, while true to you, I don't believe is the full picture. I don't believe that everybody who voted for Donald Trump is for sexual assault, despite the fact that what Donald Trump described on that tape is almost certainly sexual assault, despite the fact that there were many other women that came forward. And by the way, back to that Trump tape, that grab him in the pussy tape, here's what I find to be the most disturbing part about that, specifically in light of all this Me Too. It's not grab him in the pussy. It's what he said directly before. When they're a star, they let you do it. When you're a star, they let you do it. That, to me, describes Louis C.K. That, to me, describes Harvey Weinstein. That, to me, describes some of the behavior that we've heard repeated from many women about Bill Clinton. So what I will never do is ask you to decide whether or not somebody is telling the truth or lying about sexual assault when we are talking about elections. And so therefore, I'm not going to ask you or try to convince you that Juanita Broaddrick is lying or telling the truth. I will tell you what my opinion is, but I never want to push that because I do think that's gross. I do think that everybody should be making their own mind up on this, and we should understand that it's a very poor rubric. If what we really want as a society, which I do believe is bigger and more important than politics, to understand and take sexual assault seriously, to mix it up with the stated art of persuasion and side choosing, well, I just don't think that that's great. I think that leads us to make very, very, very gross moral, decisions of moral relativism. We throw things down the memory hole. Now, this New York Times article isn't the only thing to talk about Bill Clinton. There were also articles from The Atlantic, a few more, kind of discussing this same idea. Maybe we should rethink Bill Clinton. Maybe we should rethink how we treated some of his accusers. I do wonder, that lo, if that day in November had gone differently, and we had President Hillary Clinton in the office, and the first spouse, Bill Clinton, in the White House, whether or not we would be having these conversations. I wonder. I don't know. But I wonder. All right. Let's go ahead and do a little palate cleanser. Hey, the Campaign Chaos Book Club is in full swing. I am reading Donna Brazil's Hacks, and holy shit is this book awesome. This book rules. I am going ahead and putting out, I'm ringing the bell right now on everybody get into this book. Get into this book. Hacks. Get it on Audible. Get it on hardcover, softcover, whatever you need. Start reading this book. Here's why I love it. Number one, it is the exact kind of book that I love about politics. It is about politics. Now, it's also about principles and yada, yada, yada. But this is, I think, a very, very instructive book about what the role of the Democratic National Committee is, how people have thought about it over the years, and it's fairly bare-knuckled. It gets into really fun stories about, she does not spare any expense when it comes, or spare any feelings when it comes to how she felt Hillary Clinton's campaign was being run. She does a great job to spare Hillary. She never blames Hillary. She always goes out of her way to say, no, it wasn't Hillary's fault. It was the people around Hillary. She says, all praises, all hosannas be to the hill dog. Arf, arf, arf. But there is a great story in here that I'm going to spoil a little bit right now. I don't know if y'all remember, but at a certain point, there was a Donald Duck that kept showing up to Donald Trump rallies. It was there to remind people that Donald Trump has ducked releasing his tax returns. So all of a sudden, Donna Brazile, who curses like a sailor in this book, and it's fucking great. All of a sudden, she starts getting calls because she's still technically under contract with ABC. Which, by the way, is owned by Disney. That, hey, why is the DNC running with a Donald Duck at these things? You can't do that. Disney's going to sue. They're telling me to come to you first, but if they don't stop doing it, if the DNC does not stop doing it, they're going to sue. So she calls the Hillary campaign. And she goes out of her way to say that she thinks that this is stupid. That she doesn't like super cartoony stuff. She thinks that it's Bush League. It distracts from getting the real messaging out, which is that Hillary Clinton is the most qualified candidate, and she needs to start speaking more directly in a more human way to the populace so as to get grassroots support. And that the Duck does not do this. And she just keeps, because I'm listening to the Audible version that's narrated by her. So you just hear her in her like Louisiana accent, and she's just like, everywhere I go, I keep hearing about this damn duck. This fucking duck keeps showing up everywhere that I'm looking. She has a line, I was staying in the house of the part owner of the Boston Celtics, and there are some fine NBA players trying to make me breakfast, and all I can see is this damn duck everywhere I look. It's great. So I don't want to spoil the cliffhanger on this, but there's a reason why nobody in the campaign would be able to pull the plug on the duck. She also has this line when she goes to visit the Brooklyn office of Hillary Clinton's campaign, which she has had a very adversarial relationship with. This is kind of the central crux of the book, is her battles, at least up to where I've read, is her battles with Brooklyn. That she has in her head an old saying that when you're visiting a campaign, are the kids fucking? Are they having fun? Because that is the sign that things are going well. And she has this line, I looked around and I didn't think anybody was fucking. This book is the best. This book is the best. So go get it. Hacks by Donna Brazile. We are going to do a whole episode on it for the Campaign Chaos Book Club as soon as I'm done with it. But I want everybody's emails. As you're reading it, send me your thoughts. Send me your opinions. I've got some larger thoughts about this. But, hoo boy. I think this is Donna Brazile lighting the party on fire in hopes that, like the great the Great Fire of London, something better can be built from the ashes. Space NML says, so the title Hacks is a deliberate double entendre because she does talk a lot about the Russia hacks. But Yes. Having read, I think I'm about 20, 30% into it. Yeah, I think it is about hacks, as in people who are not good at their job, as much as it is about hacks, the Russian incursion into the DNC's private servers and emails. But you want to know what? Let's go. Come on. You want to know what? I had this whole preamble written for politics, pole dance, but I like to imagine. Close your eyes, everybody. Let's go into our mind palace. Let's go. Let's imagine, if you will, that indeed we are here in this the PX3 pole dance. Yes, we have a Steve Bannon there in the corner. He's trying to run his ATM card, but nothing's coming out. Apparently, he's got a negative balance. Yeah. We've got Hannity. Hannity's in the corner. He's frantically trying to run to the other side of the stage because he's not sure which side of the stage he wants to be on at any minute. We've got all of a sudden, you look around, you're like, oh, geez, I'm not used to so many Democrats in this club. Normally, this ain't really a big club where a lot of Democrats are really popular. But it seems to be that we're seeing a lot of them here. Because folks, we are in the Alabama Senate race. And this, my friends, is a bona fide politics. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Fox 10 strategy research pole dance taken on November 13th with 3,000 likely voters. Please welcome first to the stage. He is the Democrat with 43% of the vote. Make some noise for Doug Jones. But folks, if you think you're alone now, there doesn't seem to be anyone around. He is the king of teens, Roy Moore, 49%. That is Roy Moore with a 6-point spread over Doug Jones. Because you want to know what? After all this is said and done, after we're done talking about all the teens, after we're done talking about all the creepy yearbook writing, it's still Alabama. Alabama doesn't like to vote for Democrats. It likes to vote for Republicans. So if Roy Moore still runs and Jeff Sessions runs against him and condemns him, then I believe the writing candidate will win. If it is just Roy Moore versus Doug Jones, don't be surprised if Roy Moore still wins. Like, if you go ahead and look at some of these polls, if you go ahead and take a look at the polling, like, we're seeing certainly a slide toward Doug Jones. Roy Moore is running far closer than anybody should. We had a poll come out from the 9th to the 11th with 575 likely voters that had Jones up 4. But this is still Alabama, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget that. And don't be surprised. Let's go ahead and get into but your emails. Go ahead and send in your emails to theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Jeremy? I don't know. He writes, truth up front, I'm a Republican, never Trumper, and a retired Army intel officer and a proud patron of PX3. Cheers. The Theory Logic Train, Sessions, under oath, stated today, November 14th, that he's not going to initiate a special counsel into Hillary Rodham Clinton and Uranium One. Trump just yesterday was gleeful about the potential investigation. Trump, pissed at Sessions, fired him. This is him projecting. Trump's pissed at Sessions, fires him. From the Trump perspective, this is a good thing. Now we can force the acting attorney general to fire Mueller and be done with this Russia thing. The unholy trinity, capitalizing on an outrage over the hashtag no more, and the Trump firing Sessions, pushes Sessions to be a write-in candidate for the Alabama Senate seat. This works even if hashtag no more wins. Senate GOP already said that they'll expel him, forcing the Alabama governor to appoint Sessions for the interim until the midterm elections. Meanwhile, Bannon is done. No way a kingmaker status survives no more, and Congress is further outraged by Sessions and the Mueller firings. Sessions, in another House testimony, states he is shocked, I tell you, to learn of the depth of the Trump-Russia collusion and feels that he was fired because of his refusal to be a part of it any longer. Then Adam Schiff asks if Sessions believes the women accusing Trump in the same way he previously believes of the no more women. Sessions somberly admits that he does. House initiates articles of impeachment and Senate convicts. I don't see Trump resigning, but either way, Trump is out. Pence is the POTUS, fires the entire cabinet. The unholy trinity brings balance back to the force, and Congress tries really, really hard till the midterm to not let Pence turn America into a theocracy. Wowee. That is a long way to go. I would find it far more likely that Sessions gracefully understands that it is duty before honor and that he does need to run for his Senate seat again. That is a graceful exit from the Attorney General position, but I do not see him turning against Trump. Because ultimately, who was Sessions before Trump? I mean, that's what everybody needs to understand here. If y'all think that he's going to flip, any of these people that Trump brought to the dance is going to flip on Trump, think about where they were before him and where they are now. They ain't flipping on shit. Not unless it is absolute ironclad that Trump is gone. And I don't think we're close to absolute ironclad that Trump is gone. Brett writes, last week you asked for emails about mental health and gun violence. Lots of times people say that we need better mental health awareness and care, but they don't specify what that looks like. I can speak to this purely from the perspective of school shootings. When I was in high school, a student, let's call him Kevin, came to school with lots of weapons. He shot and killed a young girl and himself, and he burned down the library. The second we heard gunshots in the school, before even knowing the shooter's identity, everyone knew it was Kevin. That's because Kevin had dozens of warning flags. He threatened people, carried around the anarchist cookbook, shot for guns at school online. He'd be very, very, very quick to anger and frustration. Kevin had mental health issues that weren't being addressed. Since we didn't live in a community that took that seriously, he never got help. He never saw the right doctors or was prescribed medication or given therapy in any capacity. In white suburbia, everyone around Kevin was afraid anything wrong with anybody. It was shoved under the rug. Not all violent shooters have these kinds of warning signs, but better training for teachers to recognize and provide action for potentially at-risk students is key. No teacher wanted to fill out the paperwork or face parents. They're too afraid that they'd get sued or lose their job. Better systems need to exist to let them take more action, perhaps via law enforcement intervention. My school later got some flack from the community for openly ignoring it and more so never contacting the police. Hell, I saw a photo circling around text messages 2 days before the shooting or the shooter's gun sitting in his trunk. He wasn't a hunter or a marksman or subtle. This could have been prevented. Hope that lends some context as to what could be fixed with mental health as it relates to school shootings. David writes, this may be null and void by the podcast, but I'm predicting a win for Roy Moore in the Alabama Senate election. I expect him to win with 47 to 50% of the vote. After gnashing of teeth, he'll be accepted by members of the Senate, and by March, BC hand in hands with both Dems and Republicans. I mean, I think it's a long shot now, but like I said during the pole dance, don't be shocked. And finally, Neil from Las Vegas writes, he asked the question, exactly how do we fix mental health? Maybe not a realistic answer or a possibility to an impossible question, but what if we tried simply providing mental health care for everyone? Look, I don't know how to pay for health care for everybody, nor how everything really works. It seems to me that it's a basic human right to ask for help. If someone is hurt, we should help them. If someone is sick, we should heal them if possible. If there were resources for anyone who needs assistance, things might calm down a twinge. I'm from Nevada. Guns are in our blood. I don't actually mind people owning firearms within reason. I just don't see why we can't help people more. Other countries do it, and even if they didn't, I don't see why we can't try harder to assist our citizens. Isn't that the argument for America? Why can't we do the hard things, the impossible things, the things that make the world better? I think we've just become pussies. Also, hearing that bit about not time to suck each other's dicks just yet really got me through the drive home. Well, I do appreciate that. I love something as open-hearted as this ending with, I think we've just become pussies. Oh, best emailers in the business, ladies and gerbs. If you want to become a part of them, go ahead and do it by emailing in to theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Tell you what, that was a hell of an episode. What are we at? What are we at time-wise? Yeah, we went long here today, too. One more time, folks. Philly, this Saturday, 7 p.m. I'm going to be at Shot Tower Coffee. Free show. Suggested $10 donation. I'm going to have stickers, PX3 stickers for anybody who is there. If you give me the suggested donation, any donation, but the suggested donation, please, then I will give you stickers. We're going to have some. Also, I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged Friday, 3 p.m. You'll also be able to see that on the PAX Unplugged Twitch channel. You can follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. That is Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. And please go ahead and join our Discord. Keep a lot of the conversations that we are having right now going. Find a lot of the stories that we build the show out of come out of our Discord. You can join that bit.ly for free. bit.ly/jurydiscord. JURYDISCORD. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically just an all-night long chat room separated into awesome different rooms. It's fun, man. I really am having a blast with it. I'm so excited that we set it up. Thank you to everybody who makes that one of my favorite places to be on the internet. And of course, if you want to support us monetarily, patreon.com/JURY is where you do it. Get Headlines podcast on Monday and Friday of every single week. All right. That about wraps it up for this show. Remember, you can download every archived episode at bonerwars.com. And folks, remember, some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics. Still more, man. I heard one the other day talked about politics, but this is the only show that talks about all three. I will see y'all next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.